Hello, this is a video tutorial on Unit 4, Activity 3. This will be the last activity of Unit 4, and we will focus on graphic texts. And graphic texts combine images and written words. So we've got an example here of a graphic text from the Region of Waterloo's Public Health and Emergency Services Department. And they're going to try to explain the importance of physical distancing during the COVID-19 pandemic here with a graphic text. So the argument here is that they can express information, they can get information to the public in a quicker, easier to understand manner if they use a graphic text than if they just used writing, right? So that's why we use graphic texts, so that our information can be presented clearer and hopefully in a more effective, attention-grabbing way. Okay? So if we continue on here, you'll see criteria for effective graphic texts. And this is probably the most important part of the content page and the part that you're going to need to understand the best in order to do the assignment. And so in order to have an effective graphic text, it has to be visually appealing. So it has to grab the audience's attention. If it doesn't, then it's not effective, right? It has to have proper labels and titles, so it has to present the information quickly and easily and be easily understood, right? It has to follow something called proximity to text, and what we mean by that is that the images in the graphic text need to be close to the written information that it's connecting with, or that it's helping to explain. If you have a disconnect between the writing and the images in the graphic text, then it's not going to be effective, and the information is not going to be clear. The last criteria is something called compactness. So you don't want to have really large images in your graphic text that kind of take up all the space and there's not really room for anything else. You want to make sure that you have properly organized and that you've kind of designed your graphic text in an effective way so that the images are properly sized and they properly fit with the writing, that they don't take up too much space, that you don't have a lot of empty space that's doing nothing, right? You want to make sure that everything is clear and compact, okay? So if you can create a graphic text that is visually appealing, has proper labels and texts, and has the images closely attached to the writing, and is compact, well, then you have an effective graphic text. So we have a number of different types of graphic texts, and this is certainly not all of them. This is just a listing of some of the most common ones that you would find. And most of them you've probably seen before in other classes or in just generally reading on your own in magazines and in textbooks. And so we have tables, we have flowcharts, we have diagrams, timelines, pie charts, bar graphs, and line graphs. And for each type, you have a little explanation, and then you have an example that you can take a look at. Okay? For our assignment, here in a few minutes we'll get to, you'll have to find 2 examples of graphic texts, and you can choose any of these types of graphic text that you like. All right, strategies for reading graphic texts. And so what you'll see here is you'll see an example of a graphic text from Environment Canada, and it'll be used to try to explain 5 different sort of techniques or tips, in some cases questions that you can ask yourself when you're looking at a graphic text to make sure that you're fully understanding it. So this is just a helpful guide on how you can read a graphic text once you've found it. And lastly, we've got creating an effective graphic text. Now, in this activity, in the assignment that we're about to get to, you're not going to have to create your own graphic text. You're going to have to find and analyze already made graphic texts. But that said, when you do create your own graphic texts, it's important to understand the audience and the purpose, So far in Unit 4, we've looked at letters and memos, and we talked about the importance of knowing the audience and the purpose when you're writing a letter or a memo. Well, the same thing when you're creating a graphic text. You have to know who your audience is and what is the purpose. That's going to help you choose which type of graphic text you're going to use. So depending on the audience and the purpose and the type of information that you're trying to present, that's going to guide you to help you determine whether you're going to use a table or a flow chart or a diagram or whichever graphic text is going to fit best. Okay? With that said, let's take a look at the assignment page. And so there's going to be 2 assignments in this activity. The first one is called Effective Graphic Texts. And for this assignment, you're going to search online for examples of graphic texts. And I would argue the easiest way to find graphic texts online is to use Google Images. And you can search for any topic you like. So for example, if you're interested in basketball, you can look up graphic texts that relate to basketball. And you can search for any type of graphic text that you like that was listed on our content page here. So the different types of graphic texts here. You can choose whichever one you like, and you can search for it. So for example, if I go to Google Images here, and actually I'm in Google Images. And so if I go into Google Images here, I can type, basketball line graph. Right? And it will show me all sorts of different examples of line graphs related to basketball. Or you could type in gardening pie chart. And you'll find all sorts of different examples related to gardening and pie charts, right? So it doesn't matter to me what the topic of the graphics you find are, and it doesn't matter which type they are. It's up to you to choose, okay? But what your goal is during your search is to find one graphic text that you think is really effective and one graphic text that you think is not effective. And then you're going to write an 8 to 10 sentence paragraph explaining why the one graphic you found is effective, and then a second one explaining why the second graphic you found is not effective. Okay, so to give you an idea of how that would look, here's an example. So I've got effective graphic text assignment, that's our title. And so I've got effective graphic text, and so this is my example of what I thought was an effective one, right? So this is a graphic text on Major League Baseball's average ticket prices per day of the week. And so what I would do is right below my graphic text, I would write the MLB average ticket prices by day of week is an effective graphic text. It is visually appealing because, I just explain why, and then I would comment on the compactness and the proximity to text and the labels and the titles. I would comment on all 5 of the criteria for effective graphics, and hopefully about 8 to 10 sentences. I would use examples from the graphic itself to support my points, and then that would be half of the assignment complete right here. And then I would have a second, graphic text which I would label as ineffective. And so I would say something like our baseball tickets good value for cost is not an effective graphic text. It is missing important elements of an effective graphic text such as, and then I would explain. Okay, so you're going to have 2 graphic texts and 2 paragraphs. One is explaining an ineffective graphic text, and one is explaining an effective graphic text. All right. Again, you're basing your opinion and you're basing your points on the criteria of effective graphic texts, which was right here on the content page. So you want to show me that you understood these 5 criteria. Okay? And you'll see that right in the mark scheme. If you look down at the mark scheme here, it says for knowledge and understanding, did you understand what makes an effective graphic text? So did you comment on the criteria of graphic text? Did you use specific supporting detail to support your opinion? So did you use examples from the graphic text itself to support yourself? Did you use proper grammar and language use? Did you include two well-chosen graphic texts? So did the graphic text that you included for as the effective graphic, was it a good choice? And was the graphic text that you included for the ineffective graphic, was it a good choice? Okay, so that's how you'll be graded. If you have any questions about this assignment, please let me know. I know it's a little bit different. We're getting into graphic texts here. We're not just doing written word. So again, if there's any trouble, please let me know. Now there is one more assignment here. And so this is portfolio entry number 6. So far this semester, you should have completed 5 portfolio entries. I think for the first time, I've mentioned here, right here, that I'm going to expect you to hand in all of your portfolio entries by Friday, June 18th. And they will combine to be 20% of your final grade. As I recently announced, there will not be a final exam because the school is going to remain closed. So all of your portfolio entries are going to go together as 20% of your final grade, and they will count as your final exam. Okay, this is portfolio entry 6. There'll be 2 final portfolio entries to complete in Unit 5, and again, you'll submit them all on Friday, June 18th, by that date. Okay, if you can submit them earlier if you like. Okay, so let's look specifically at the one we're talking about here, entry number 6. So it says, in this unit, you learned about 3 different forms of presenting information: letters, memos, and graphic texts. Letters are usually written in a formal, long-form manner. So they're written in full sentences, and they're usually very detailed, right? Whereas memos are usually short and direct, and sometimes use point form. And then in this activity today, we're looking at graphic texts, and so they rely on images. So I'm curious to know which form of presenting information is most effective for you. Do you prefer to read longer pieces of writing with more description and full sentences? So are you someone that likes to read novels or likes to read really in-depth pieces really in-depth pieces of writing that provide a lot of detailed information? Or are you somebody that likes to read shorter, more direct pieces of writing which may use point form notes instead of full sentences? Are you someone that likes to read short pieces of writing and get the information quickly and don't necessarily need a lot of detail? Or are you someone that finds it easiest to take in information if you are presented information in a graphic form? Okay, so a combination of graphics and written word. I'd like you to fully explain the best form of presenting information for you and include specific examples either from this course or from your own personal experiences to support your points. So if you're going to tell me that you like long pieces of writing with lots of description and detail, give me specific examples from your own life. Do you tend to read a lot of novels? When someone sends you information in email form, do you like them to really explain themselves, right? So whatever examples you can come up with from your personal life, include them. If you've come across examples in this course where you preferred one type of presentation of information to another, you can use that as examples as well too. The same thing goes if you choose shorter pieces of writing. Provide examples to support that. Or if you choose graphic texts and you say you like to get information in graphic form, give me specific examples. You're writing about yourself. So again, make sure you're using examples that relate to you. Okay? As always, you want to have at least 10 sentences, and you're going to save this portfolio entry and you're going to submit it with all of the other portfolio entries in Unit 5. If you have any questions about this activity, please let me know.